Pajemski free.
This is not the same Golden State Warriors team you remember. For a decade, the Warriors were the standard, the team you circled on the calendar, the team that could drop 20 points on you in 3 minutes, the team that felt inevitable every time Stephen Curry crossed half court. Now, when you turn on a Warriors game in March 2026, you see something completely different. You see Steph on the bench in street clothes, recovering from a knee injury and watching his teammates try to hang on without him. You see Jimmy Butler, the big in-season gamble, gone for the year after tearing his right ACL, leaving a hole on the wing that this roster just can't fill. You see Brandon Pajemski and Kristaps Porzingis taking shots that used to belong to Curry and Klay in the final minutes of close games. So far, the Warriors sit at 36-38, near the bottom of the Western Conference, barely hanging on to a play-in spot. With a plethora of problems right now, this might be a sign of the times. In this video, we're going to talk about how the Warriors actually got here, from dynasty to desperation in just a few years. How much did the injuries to Curry and Butler really break this season? And lastly, as we watch the beginning of a farewell tour for Steph and the championship core as we know it, whether anyone admits it or not.
Against James, nice move, scoops inside and throws it down.
To understand this moment, you have to zoom out. From 2015 to 2019, Golden State was the league's final boss. 5 straight finals, 3 championships, and an offensive system that changed how everyone else built their teams. They added a surprise 2022 title on top of that, proving that the core of Curry, Klay Thompson, and Draymond Green could still reach the top when everything broke right. But ever since that 2022 run, the pattern has been clear. There was the second-round exit to the Lakers in 2023, a play-in appearance and a quick exit in 2024, then more inconsistency and injuries in 2025. By the time the 2025-26 season started, the Warriors were already closer to the middle of the pack than to the top, even with Steph still playing at an All-NBA level when healthy. That context is what made the front office move at this year's deadline so dramatic. Golden State went out and got Jimmy Butler, a 36-year-old, battle-tested playoff wing, in a move that clearly screamed, one more push, one more run. It was a short-term bet, just like Cleveland's Harden move in the Cavs, but here, the timeline was even tighter because of age, mileage, and the brutal Western Conference. When you trade for Jimmy Butler at this point in his career, you're not building for 5 years down the line. You're trying to win right now, with Steph at 37, Draymond in his mid-30s, and a roster that's expensive, bruised, and running out of time. And that's what makes what happened next feel like the beginning of the end. On paper, the vision was simple. Steph would stay Steph, the ultimate offensive engine. Jimmy Butler would bring toughness, wing defense, and late-game shot creation so Steph didn't have to carry everything. Draymond would quarterback the defense and the offense from the elbows, connecting all the pieces. Instead, the season became a story about who wasn't available. In January, Jimmy Butler tore his right ACL, ending his season and instantly removing the Warriors' second-best player and their primary answer for big wings in the West. Reports around the league framed it as a massive blow that completely changed Golden State's trade deadline calculus. Any dreams of them being a real contender this year basically died that night. Not long after, Stephen Curry's knee became the next headline. He played his last game in late January and has missed more than 20 straight games since, with the team calling it a knee injury and approaching his recovery cautiously. Updates through March have talked about optimism for his return, but every game he misses pushes Golden State deeper into the play-in mess and makes this season look more like survival mode than a title chase. Without Curry, the numbers and the eye test line up. They've been hovering around .500 since early February, with the record in the low 30s in wins and stuck in that 8-11 range in the West. Their net rating has looked like that of a good but unspectacular team, around +2 or +3 at points, nowhere near the dominance that used to separate them from everyone else. The Butler injury took away their margin for error. The Curry injury took away their identity. And together, those two losses turn this season from a last push at a title into something that feels a lot closer to a slow, painful downfall. If you want to see how different this Warriors team is, just watch what's happening on the court in March. The jerseys and the logo are the same, but the way they actually win and lose games has completely changed. On the season, Golden State's defense sits in the middle of the league. Respectable, but nowhere near the elite units they used to hang their identity on. Offensively, without Steph, everything looks heavier. They still play fast and launch a ton of threes, but the automatic movement and Curry-driven gravity that made every possession feel dangerous just aren't there for long stretches. Since March 1st, the Warriors have stumbled through a losing stretch, and in that run, you really see the different-looking part. It's Brandon Podziemski, Guy Santos, Kristaps Porzingis, and, before his own setback, Moses Moody carrying the offense on random nights just to keep them afloat. Even those bright spots come with a cost. Moody first dealt with a wrist issue early in the month, then in that overtime win in Dallas he suffered a brutal non-contact knee injury on a breakaway and had to be taken off on a stretcher. What should have been a breakout 23-point night without Steph turned into another reminder of how fragile this season is. Porzingis showing up in late March box scores is another sign of how much the roster has shifted. In early February, the Warriors effectively ended the Jonathan Kuminga era, sending him out in a win-now trade to bring in Porzingis as a veteran stretch big. That's a front office choosing immediate help over waiting on a young, homegrown lottery pick to figure it out. A few years ago, crunch time meant Steph and Klay deciding everything. Now, every night feels like a live audition for the next era, with role players and new faces taking shots on a stage that used to belong to legends. All of this is happening while the clock is loudly ticking on the core that built this entire era. Stephen Curry is 37 years old this season. Draymond Green is 36, with over a decade of high-impact, physically demanding defense on his body. Jimmy Butler is 36 and now has a torn ACL to rehab on top of all the playoff mileage he racked up. Curry has talked openly in interviews about the idea that there are no perfect endings in the NBA, and you can feel that awareness in the way people talk about his career now. This season isn't just about whether the Warriors can win a round. It's also about how much longer Steph can hold up and what it looks like if he can't. Front office voices, like GM Mike Dunleavy, have publicly backed Klay and Draymond as part of the franchise's future, emphasizing their importance to the culture and identity of the team. But sentiment and cap sheets don't always line up. With Curry, Butler, Green, and other veterans on the books, Golden State is locked into being an expensive, aging team without the flexibility to simply swap in another prime star. So instead, they're forced into a tougher path. They have to try to develop Podziemski, Santos, Moody, and whoever comes next, all while still trying to win enough to make the play-in and keep Curry in meaningful games. That's not how dynasties are supposed to operate. That's how teams in transition live, year to year, hoping their aging core can still swing a series while the next generation figures things out on the fly. This is the quiet part of the downfall, realizing that even if everyone gets healthy, the ceiling might not be title favored anymore, and that there may not be a clean way to fix it.
It was a special year, all things considered, and a new experience for me, Draymond Loon. Tried to make the most of it, come back, bottle this up, everybody make the right strides, take advantage of the summer, and don't want to see us next year.
Even though nobody has made an official announcement, this season has started to feel a lot like the first chapter of a farewell tour. Not the kind where every arena does a tribute video, but the kind where fans, media, and even the team start to talk about the ending more than the climb. National conversations have shifted from, can the Warriors win another ring, to, are the Warriors wasting another season of Steph Curry? And what does his final act look like? When you watch home games at Chase Center, the energy is still loud, but the expectations are different. There's always this underlying tension. Every game Steph misses feels like a missed memory, a moment fans might not get back. There are a few paths from here. One version, Steph returns in late March, drags them through the play-in, maybe steals a series if the matchup breaks right, but everyone can see that he's doing it without a true contender's support around him. Another version: the injuries linger, the season ends in the play-in or with a first-round loss, and the questions about retirement, reduced roles, or big structural changes get a lot louder over the summer. There's also the longest shot version. They run it back one more time next year, with Curry at 38 and Butler trying to return at 37 from an ACL tear, hoping that health and role player growth somehow add up to one last run. No matter which scenario you believe in, the vibe is the same. Every tunnel walk, every warm-up shot, every three Steph eventually takes when he comes back hits a little different now.
And without Steph Curry, they'll now be 13 and 24.
This Warriors team is in decline. Steph is 37 with a bad knee and has already missed weeks of action. Jimmy Butler's torn ACL ended his season, and a 36 and 38 record has them fighting just to stay in the play-in mix. The front office has already spent serious win-now assets and still ended up with a roster that looks like a contender on paper but plays like a fringe playoff team. The future offers very little safety net. There is no clear path to adding another star, limited flexibility to reshape the roster, and no obvious franchise-changing prospect waiting to take over. The young players who show flashes are doing it inside a shrinking window, not a growing one, and the floor is still too high for a full teardown. The most realistic outcome from here is a slow slide. The banners stay up, the names stay familiar, but each season drifts further away from what a real contender is supposed to look like. If you've been watching this version of the Warriors, let me know in the comments. Is this just a bad injury year, or are we already in Steph's unofficial farewell tour? If you enjoyed this breakdown and want more videos like this, drop a like and consider subscribing so you don't miss the next one.